This is the Tesla Model 3, and it's a little bit like a OnePlus mobile phone in the way it has almost the same performance as the more expensive Model S, but it's more affordable. This is the performance version of the Model 3, so it has some sporty upgrades like a carbon fibre rear spoiler, 20-inch alloy wheels, bigger brakes, it sits lower to the ground as well, but it looks like a Model S, but just a little bit more modern, a little bit smaller. And of course, look, being an electric car, there is no grille, so it doesn't really have a mouth as such. I do like the look of it though. I think it's quite a neat and tidy looking car, but inside it's suitably high tech. So it's a really clean, modern design in here. There's hardly any buttons. The only buttons there are actually on the steering wheel. And quality is pretty good as well. It's much better, I think, than in the Model S, which is the more expensive car. So there's squidgy materials on the dash here and here and here and here, and even down here on the door bins as well. And the build quality is better than before, so the controls have a nice damp feeling to them. The materials don't shake. There are a few bits and pieces where you press it and it just feels a little bit less solid than say something like a BMW, but it's not too far off. They have got really, really close to the mainstream manufacturers. And then there's that area where they completely thrash them, and that's the infotainment screen. And you get this big infotainment screen as standard on every Model 3. And that brings me on to the specs. Every Model 3 gets dual zone climate control, and you can actually control where the air comes out of this main central vent here. You put it exactly where you like it, and you just drag it with your finger like that. There's mobile phone connectivity where you can actually control the car remotely by an app, so you can do things like operate the climate, you can check the charging state and do some other bits and pieces such as lock it. In fact, you can use your phone as the key for the car and it just recognises that you've got it in your pocket and lets you in and start it. And you get a reversing camera too, and I think it's probably one of the most high definition reversing cameras I've ever seen. If you upgrade to the performance model, you get the optional full-length glass roof as standard, and I love the way it just extends all the way to the very back. Instead of fabric seats, the performance model also gets vegan leather, also known as leatherette or just fake leather. It's also available with this open pore wood, if you like that kind of thing. And there's heated seats too, though not just for the driver nor the front passenger, but for people in the back as well. Even the one in the very middle back seat. In fact, you control most of the car's functions through this screen, so I'm going to talk you through exactly what it can do now.
There's Google Maps Sat Nav. It's fast, easy to use, and will plan your route via Tesla superchargers. All driving and security features are operated through the screen, and you can swipe to see power usage and remaining charge. The car even understands a wide range of voice commands, while music apps such as Spotify and TuneIn Radio are built in. There's full internet connectivity too with Google Search, and even a mode for cleaning grubby fingerprints off the screen. Thank God.
You also use the screen to adjust things like the door mirrors. For instance, I hit that button on there, and then I use the button on the steering wheel to move the mirror up and down and left and right. Then if I want to alter the position of the steering wheel, once again I press that button, and then I use this again to move it up, down, in and out. In fact, it's very easy to get an ideal driving position in this car. So the seat has plenty of adjustment in it, so even if you're really tall, you can get into a comfortable position, or if you're small, because it will jack up quite a way. And for those longer journeys, you've got electrically controlled lumbar support to put a little bit of extra padding in the small of your back so you don't get backache. And then there's the cubby spaces, so there are a lot. Under here, there's plenty of room, and you've even got a little tray, and there's a 12-volt charging socket in there. How very quaint. However, for the more modern people, look at this. You have, if I just hit that, you will see a couple of chargers there where you can just mount your mobile phone directly and they'll charge up. I think that is super cool. What's less cool is this, that it can be quite hard to shut these if you think they operate like a normal cubby cover, but they're actually held down by magnets, so you just have to close them gently and it's all good. Yeah, actually under there I should show you, there's plenty more space there as well. Look at that. The door, there you see, it takes some getting used to. The door bins are a decent size as well, and you can use these cup holders, although they are fixed in size and quite large, which means smaller cans are going to rattle around in there and probably drop out when you accelerate. And then there's the glove box, so how the heck do you open it? Of course, you open it through the screen, you know, everything is operated through the screen. So there we go, I just hit this button. Et voila, the glove box. Another thing that's cool is this, look at the visor. So it's like one of those covers for your iPad, the way it's magnetic. I really like that. And yes, that's quite a big visor, so it should be able to keep the sun out of your eyes. I also like the rear view mirror as well. It's cool and minimalist, like the rest of the car. Anyway, let's hop into the back, but before we do, I want to show you this. You open the door by just pressing a button here, and it opens electrically. Now you might be thinking, well, what happens if it runs out of battery? I'll never be able to get out the car. Don't worry, look, there's a manual override. Let's jump into the back. Another thing I like is how you open the doors. They have a really cool handle. It doesn't quite open in the same way as on the Model S, but I actually think it's a better system. Okay, space in the back. So this seat is in my usual driving position. I've got plenty of knee room. Headroom is just about okay for me, but people over 6 foot may struggle a little bit. If you need to carry 3 people in the back at once, it is doable because, well, look at this. You have no hump in the floor. And so there's plenty of space for everyone's feet. And the car seems quite wide, so it should be all right for shoulder space as well. If you need to fit a child seat, there's a couple of Isofix here and on this seat as well. If no one's sitting there, you can just fold this down, and then you've got cup holders there. It's all right. My only issue is because this is an electric car, you've got batteries underneath the floor. It means that your feet are quite high up. So if you look at that angle there, it's a bit like you're squatting. So that could be a bit annoying on longer journeys. Look, I haven't got much under thigh support as a result. I do like this though, look, coat hooks. I love the way they're actually hidden away until you need them. And of course you've got your reading lights there. And they're right where you'd be holding a book, which is good. There's a couple of USB charging points there as well. And there's a little folder in the back of the front seats where you can just about fit an iPad. Plus the door bins here in the back are nice and large as well. One small criticism though is this, look, the rear windows really don't go down very far. So kids will find that a bit annoying, though they will like the fact that the window ledge isn't too high and the rear window is quite big, so you do get a good view out. And of course the glass roof does make it feel nice and airy in here, though it doesn't get too hot because it's actually got a special coating which blocks out more than 99% of UV light. Now let's move on to the boot. Once again, the door opens electrically. So in terms of the capacity, it's about 3/4 of that you get in the boot of a BMW 3 Series. So if you look at the space, it is quite usable. The boot opens really high as well, so you've got nice access to it. Even though it's a saloon car, there's not much of a lip to lift stuff over, so it's all right. Under here though is some extra storage, and there is quite a lot. When you add all that together, the boot capacity is then very similar to the 3 Series, and it's really nice that you've got somewhere to keep the charging cables out of the way. There's a little bit of extra storage just down the side here as well. And of course, being an electric car, you do not have an engine at the front. So instead, you have a fruit, which is a front boot, and you can open it using the app, just like that. There we go. Dead simple. And there's more room here as well. Look at that. And it even has a few hooks, if you look at these, where you can hang your shopping off so it doesn't roll about all over the place. However, not everything about this car is cool. Here's 5 annoying things about it. Only one paint colour is included in the price, and that is black. If you don't want that, you're going to have to pay some more money. While all this minimalism is cool, it would be good to have a few buttons for some key items, such as fog lights, but no, you have to go through the screen. Also, using the mirrors through this system is a little bit of an arse as well. Tesla has just cut the price of the Model S, Model X by up to £40,000, and they could do that for the Model 3 at any point, which would be a little bit annoying if you just bought one prior to the price cut. This black trim not only picks up horrible fingerprints, but it also scratches easily. Look, there's marks on it, and this is a brand new car. If it's been raining and there's a lot of water on the car, when you open the boot, that drips on there, then look, as you can see, it all drips inside the car because there's not sufficient guttering like on normal cars.
Thankfully, there's still plenty to like about the Tesla Model 3. Here's 5 cool features.
If you're running low on battery, the satellite navigation system will automatically divert you to a Tesla supercharger, and it'll even preheat the battery for optimal charging when you get there. If you're planning a longer route, it'll actually figure in places to stop to charge up, but it won't make you stay and charge there for longer than you need to. Every Model 3 comes fitted with all the hardware necessary for all the available options, and if you decide that you want to have one at a later date, you can actually just have it as a software update to enable it to work. Also, upgrades to the car's systems can also be done over the internet. For instance, Tesla just figured out how to use the cameras on the car for the autopilot for a dash cam, and they've just enabled it for everyone. So in the event of having an accident, you can then just plug in a special USB stick to download the footage. You can put the car into special modes. For instance, if a thief approaches the car, special security mode will actually spot them, and it uses the sensors and cameras to record what they're doing, and it'll even put a little display on the car's infotainment system to say that they're being watched. Then there's dog mode. If you want to leave your dog in the car, it'll put a message on the screen and it'll actually hold the air conditioning at the right temperature to keep the dog happy. But if the car runs out of battery and it starts to get too hot in there, it'll send a note to your mobile phone to tell you to get back and save your pooch. And then there's valet mode. So if you want to hand over your car at an airport or at the hotel, you can put it into this mode and it'll restrict the speed to 55 miles an hour, unlock the trunk, and also disengage the infotainment system so they can't mess around with all these settings. The seats have a special coating on them which make them very easy to wipe clean if you get muck on them. The car has a range of funny Easter eggs, which shows that Tesla has a sense of humour, and I'll show you some now. So, by pressing that button there and then pulling this down, you access the Easter eggs, and this one here is called romance mode. So it shows a lovely roaring log fire there. How romantic is that? Play some relaxing music. Also, it blows out warm air to the ventilation system and warms the seats as well to get you in the mood. Next there is Mars mode. So basically it changes your sat nav for the surface of the planet Mars. Next up is drawing mode, which allows you to write stuff on the screen. Then there's Atari mode, which allows you to play games off old Ataris. And then there is my personal favourite, the whoopee cushion. Basically, you can activate each seat so that when someone sits on it, as you can hear, it makes a farting sound. And you can choose between the different fart sounds. So I'll run through them here. There's Falcon Heavy. Then you've got Ludicrous Fart. That one's a bit wet. Nutra-Stink. It's like post-curry, that one. Yeah, kids are going to love that, and grown-up kids will too. The Tesla Model 3 has a 75 kilowatt-hour battery, and according to Tesla, that should be good for a range of up to 300 miles, so long as you take it steady. Now, to charge it, you just press this flap here. There you go, and it opens, and then you can plug your charger in. Now, if you charge this car from a normal 3-pin socket at home, it'll take a day and a half to charge it from empty to full. However, if you have a special fast AC charger, that time is cut to just half a day. That's why you're going to want to charge it from one of the DC chargers. From a 50 kilowatt charger, it'll take about an hour to charge it from 10% to 80% full. Or if you go to a Tesla supercharger, you can do that in about 35 minutes. However, there's a new V3 supercharger available for the Tesla Model 3, which means you can charge at twice the speed. In fact, it can add 75 miles of range in just 5 minutes. Now in Europe, there's two versions of the Model 3. Both are dual motor, so they have a motor at the back and a motor at the front, so they are four-wheel drive. There's a long-range version that has 350 horsepower, or this performance version that has 450 horsepower.
Eventually, Europe will get the full Tesla Model 3 lineup, which is already available in the US. That means less expensive rear-drive only versions and smaller battery packs. But seeing as I have the most powerful car right here, let's do some serious motoring journalism.
I want to see just how quick this Tesla Model 3 is, so I'm going to launch it. Before I do that though, I'm going to move the acceleration setting from chill into sport. Also, I'm going to turn off creep so I can leave the car stationary and then just floor the throttle to make it go. And to time it, I'm going to use a special app on my mobile phone and just plop that up there. Let's do this. Oh, it's quick! It's really quick. That's enough. 0 to 60, and you can see it there, 3.6 seconds. Yeah, it's quick. It's not quite as bonkers quick as a Tesla Model S P100D in Ludicrous Plus mode, but it's fast enough. And when you're just driving along, because you've got no gearbox and you've got the instant power from the electric motors, when you put your foot down, it just picks up so quick. Woo! Yes, it's definitely a Tesla. So what's this Model 3 like when you hit a twisty road such as this? Well, you can put the steering into sport mode, so it's heavier. And it will surprise you, because this thing isn't just about straight line pace. I mean, being an electric car, it is quite heavy because you've got all those batteries, but it really grips well in a corner. Also, the steering is super fast. It's just odd that it's this much fun with absolutely no engine noise. It's fast and it's fun. It's a result.
So the Model 3 ticks the enjoyment box better than any Tesla before it. But how does it cope with the mundanity of day-to-day driving, such as in town?
So being electric, it's very quiet. This is the performance version, so it has slightly stiffer suspension, so it does move around a bit over bumps in the road, but it's not too bad. And actually over speed bumps such as this, yeah, it's fine. It doesn't feel any firmer than something like a sporty Audi or BMW. You can get the normal model, which has softer suspension and smaller wheels, and it'll be a bit better over bumps and a bit more comfortable, but I'm actually fine with this. What I do like is the fact you get a great view forward because you've got such a low dash. What I don't like though is this pillar creates a massive blind spot, so when you're at junctions you really do have to look around it quite a lot. As for the manoeuvrability, well, the turning circle is very similar to something like a BMW 3 Series, so it's just about good enough, so if you need to go around a mini roundabout, you can do. Then there's the brakes. So normally with an electric car, the first part you're braking actually regenerates the batteries, and so it can feel a bit grabby at times, whereas it doesn't with this Tesla. You get the regenerating effect when you lift off the accelerator, but the brakes are just normal brakes. So they're very easy to control, and you don't end up like jerking your way down the road. I like that about it. Now this is the part of the video where I'd normally park the car to see how easy it is to do that. But unfortunately, these cars haven't parked that great, so I don't think I'll be able to get the car in that gap and get out again. So I'm just gonna have to get the car to park itself. And I do that using the app. There we go. Easy.
But while all that is very clever, is the Model 3 actually any good as a long-distance motorway cruiser? Well, yes.
So, seats are nice and comfy, suspension does a good job. It's relaxing enough. You get a bit of wind noise from around here, but other than that, it's quite quiet. I'm not sure whether I'm just noticing the other noises because there's no noise from the engine. Of course, you can upgrade to have Tesla's autopilot, which is basically a clever cruise control system. So to engage it, I hit down on this stalk twice. There we go, it's on. Now it's doing what normal systems do, so it's using radars and cameras to keep a safe distance from the car in front. It'll also automatically steer to keep me in lane, though you do have to keep your hands on the wheel, otherwise it'll disengage. But what it can do that other systems don't do is this. Look, if I want to change lane, I just put the indicator on and it'll be looking to see what's next to me. You can see it's safe, and then it'll move into that lane and then it disengages the indicator. So you don't have to do that. Now, if you have the car in America, it'll actually do all that itself without you having to put the indicator on. You can even set your destination on the satellite navigation and it will automatically take you off at a junction, obviously the right junction. Now, we don't have that yet in Europe because of European laws. Let's see how long it can go before it throws a wobbly and disengages. I think it's super cool the way it shows where the other things are there. And I want to show you this as well. Look, you don't have to use your rear view mirror. Press this. The camera will stay on regardless of what speed you're doing. It doesn't disengage like on normal cars. Now, I've been driving along with my hands off the wheel for at least 2 or 3 minutes now. I don't think the system which disengages when you take your hands off the wheel is working on this particular car, because this is odd. It's definitely not supposed to do this. Anyway, I think we're going to cut this section because it's going to go on forever, isn't it? Because I don't think this system's going to disengage, it's just going to keep on working, which I quite like. Apparently there was a minor steering calibration issue on this particular car, and normally autopilot can tell if your hands aren't on the wheel and will disengage if they're not. And anyway, for safety reasons, don't try what I did at home. So what's my final verdict on the Tesla Model 3? Should you avoid it? Should you consider it? Should you shortlist it? Or should you just go right ahead and buy it? Well, I reckon if you're looking for an electric car, just go right ahead and buy a Tesla Model 3. It's even better than the Model S, but less expensive.